Hi everyone, and welcome to another video. Now, back at the beginning of October, my son had a rare weekend off work, and he suggested we go and have a day at Silverstone, which is less than an hour away from where we live in Leighton Buzzard. This is something we had done before, some 6 years ago now. It's a great day, and when it's not a major event, it's quite inexpensive to go. Anyway, here are some shots from 2019, the last time that we went. This was literally 3 weeks before fibro knocked me out of commission. Little did I know what was on the horizon. Now, when you live with fibro, when anything is suggested that takes you outside of the home, your comfort zone, if you like, your brain automatically goes through the pros and cons of how you might be able to do it, can you do it, etc. Things that I've shared before in other videos. One strong positive for this was it was going to be a nice family time. It's going to be a day out for us. Yes, we spend a lot of time together at home. But getting out and about, we haven't done for a little while now because of my son working odd shifts and predominantly at weekends. So that was one strong positive. He also likes photography. He's very much more into wanting to photograph in vehicles, especially, you know, things like races, etc. He'd love to do. And we've not had time together out doing photography for a long time now. For me, it was also a different subject, something different to photograph. You know by now with the videos that I've done this year that I like to go and shoot different things. I'm into photography. Yes, it's predominantly landscape, street. They're my two sort of main areas because they're what I have access to. But it doesn't mean that if I didn't have the opportunity to go and photograph something else, I don't want to do it. Fibro allowing and my function allowing. It also allows me to practice a different photography style, and that is where some of the cons come in that I'll go through in a minute. So this would be pan and shoot of very fast moving vehicles. And I'm going to go back to another pro being the family time. This for me was the family time, having time with my son doing some photography, and just enjoying the day out. So what were the cons? Now, despite the fantastic weather that we've had throughout this summer, barely a drop of rain in our area of the country, and relatively recently as well into September, it's not been too bad. We've had some rain, but not a huge amount. The weekend that we planned to do this, and we had the opportunity to do this, Storm Amy hit the UK, and in our part of the country, we had 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts. And that comes with a very low pressure weather system. That low pressure, if you speak to anybody with fibromyalgia, any chronic pain condition, and possibly other health conditions as well, they will tell you that when low pressure rolls in, it really affects your function. Cannot exaggerate it enough. It's like, for me, it's like my brain, my whole nervous system is being squeezed and makes it a challenge to function. Really have to sort of get myself going to be able to do anything, even conversation, all the things that come with fibro, extremely difficult. However, Silverstone is an old airfield. It's a higher elevation than the surrounding area, and the wind blows across there anyway. So this was going to be a bit of a challenge. Now, the kit I was using, we based ourselves at Cops Corner for this, and I was using, well, we would have to use my 75 to 300mm lens on my crop sensor Canon 40D It has a range of 485mm equivalent, crop factor of 1.6. And that meant that, as well as just having to cope with the movement of the cars as I was tracking them to shoot, I had Storm Amy gusting winds hitting this in all directions as I was shooting. So I was going to be competing against those two. The pan and shoot itself, with the sensitivity in my spine and my neck, I knew was going to be a challenge, much more so than 6 years ago, when I was starting to have the symptoms of fibro, but I was still able to function. I was still working in my management job in logistics. So this was going to be a much more of a challenge for me, and the settings, etc., that I'd used before, they would go out the window for health reasons as well as weather reasons. So I also put my camera on my monopod because I knew that I was going to need to have something to help steady the camera because of the weather, but also because of my own physical limitations and challenges, just to help steady the camera as I was panning and shooting. We started up in the stands at COPS to get a view looking down on the track. Now the challenge is, especially with my 300mm lens, you will see at race events, this sort of thing, that people are there with much bigger lenses, probably 600mm, maybe more. They can zoom right in on the driver in the car, that sort of thing, and get a right cropped in shot. With this, I was going to struggle with panning and shooting fast enough to effectively erase the fence, the barriers out of the way as the cars went past. Now, if you get that right, you can make it look like there is no fence. However, what I was finding by sitting up in the stand was that it was more difficult to get the fence out of the way. And as you'll see later in the video, we go further on a ground level and shooting directly through the fence, where we could avoid sort of the supports in the fence, which may have been getting more in the way when we were up in the stands from an elevated position. I processed my images in Darktable. I wanted to have a look and see at doing some sort of more effective crops of them. Now my camera is, say, only 10 megapixels, it's 10.1 megapixels, compared to the more modern cameras with higher pixel counts. Cropping in means that I can't print them too large, but for the purpose of showing them here and enjoying my images for myself, that's more than adequate. So the main races of the day were the classic cars, and that's what my son wanted to go and see. But we also got the spectacle of the prototype, I believe they were called, cars racing, and these were much faster and a much more of a challenge. And as you can see from these images, these were taken from up in the stand at Copse Corner. You can see where the fence is more in the shot, and you can also see that there was a bit of an incident at the first turn, because these things took off, and I think we found out later in the day that they actually are doing 110 around Copse Corner. Now, what is nice when you go to these smaller events, not a major event with huge crowds, firstly, parking is much easier. You can literally drive into the centre of Silverstone and park close to, well, we were parked near the paddocks, which were right near Copse Corner. So there's not so many crowds to deal with, there's not as much traffic, and it's much easier to get around. You can also get access to the paddocks and see inside and wander inside the garages and see the vehicles and the drivers. So we enjoyed a bit of time just walking around there and shooting what was going on in the garages and getting some different shots compared to just shooting the races. So this next set of images were shot from Cops Corner, and you probably will see, compared to some of the very faint blurs that you can see on the earlier images, you can see here that I was able to shoot better through and pan and shoot better through the fence and pretty much make it look like it wasn't there. So be able to line up my camera on the monopod so that I was kind of looking through sort of a letterbox of the supports that go through the chain link fence and shoot as they came round the corner. What is also nice on a day like this is that there are so many rounds for these types of races and events that you can highlight the cars that you want to capture maybe better than you have done previously, and you look out for them as they're coming around the track. That's what I was doing here, and I'm really pleased that even with the potential limitations of shooting with the 300mm lens, not being able to crop in tighter, that I've got some pretty clear images. I was also shooting at a speed equivalent to the focal length, so I was shooting at 1/320, 1/320th of a second. That's because of the weather, because of my own function, and my son was actually shooting at half that, about 1/180, and that's the difference in our physical abilities when it comes to coping with the situation and the circumstances that we're dealing with. All in all, a day like this at Silverstone is a great day to practice your pan and shoot photography and capturing fast moving objects. It's also quite cost effective. It was £17 each for us to get in, so the three of us took a packed lunch to enjoy, went and got a hot drink in the cafe. So you can keep the cost down and enjoy the day, and it's a great opportunity, as I say, to practice a different style of photography, which may otherwise, with the cost of major events, race events like F1 are out of price range for us. So this is a good alternative, as well as being a great family day out. Unfortunately, there's no video of the event from the day. My function was being affected so much by the wind, the low pressure weather, etc., and the movement of pan and shooting photography, that my function wasn't in a place to think about doing video. I also don't think you would have got much out of it. You wouldn't have had the sound of the cars, you would have just had the wind blasting over the mic throughout the day. But hopefully, having the images that I've shown you today give you an idea of what the day was like. And yeah, thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video and you want to see more from me, please like the video, please subscribe so that you get updates in the future, and I'll see you in the next video.